When some people consume media on the internet, they tend to be drawn to people or characters they find bits and pieces of themselves in. This is the concept of relating to a character, and it's not just characters. It could be a situation, another person's experience, or a song. People can see the experience and say, I've been there before, or that looks just like me. This video I decided on 3 characters that I personally relate to in media, and I wanted to talk about how I relate to them. And these aren't just any characters, but the characters I've chosen have traits that are something along the lines of anxiety, mystery, social awkwardness, and quietude. Basically characters that can be deemed as introverts or socially anxious like I am. I am aware that it might seem contradictory that someone with social anxiety such as myself is putting their voice on the internet for everyone to see. In order to mitigate the anxiety I have of potentially being perceived as a nobody by the eyes of the internet, I plan out what I wanted to say beforehand in the form of writing scripts for videos. When recording my voice, I make sure to increase the volume of sound and editing because I'm naturally very soft-spoken. I do several takes of reading my script and listen back to them until I find a take that I'm satisfied with. I'm saying this to clarify how I put out videos despite my anxiety. Anyway, the characters I've chosen are all from different media, so you may or may not be familiar with. So just bear with me if you don't recognize one of them, or any of them. Here are the 3 characters that I relate to the most. First we have Hitori Goto from the anime Bocchi the Rock. Hitori is the protagonist of the show, characterized as a timid and anxious girl who wishes to play guitar for a band someday. She's very talented in terms of guitar and playing instruments, and even runs a fictional internet account where she does covers of songs under the name Guitar Hero. However, she can't manage a conversation or make eye contact to save her life. Hitori's anxiety is exaggerated for comedic effect in many ways, such as voice acting and animation. Especially voice acting and animation. Some people may argue that the portrayal of Hitori's social anxiety is unrealistic, and I definitely somewhat agree, but I can forgive it because this is a fictional show that was generally well received, and a bit of exaggeration won't hurt anyone. I hope. I relate to this character in terms of how her anxiety functions. I struggle with managing conversations with strangers, and even more so with eye contact. I also don't do very well with presentations, so Hitori being able to do live performances on stage in front of hundreds of people is very impressive. I don't play guitar, nor do I have a friend group that plays instruments, but I mostly relate to Hitori in terms of how timid and anxious she can be. And I know I'm not the only one. I've seen many YouTube comments say something along the lines of, "But she's literally me." People all over the internet relate to this character, which is a compliment to the person behind her writing. Hitori Goto is the anxious pink gremlin of the internet, and also one of the most relatable characters in all of fiction. Second, we have Elliot Thornton from Gacha Life series The Music Freaks. This character is not relevant in the main 11 episode series itself, but in the 2 episodes spin-off. Elliot is the main character of the Music Freaks spin-off, where he is trying to prevent the gardening club at his school from being shut down due to a lack of members. He goes about this by trying to do an announcement, but fails due to his anxiety, which is super relatable. Once again, I am very bad at presentations, so looking at this being represented in fiction made me feel seen. Another habit this character has is the habit of apologizing a lot, even for the small things that don't usually need apologizing for. As someone who can be a bit of a people pleaser, this habit is very relatable, and I find myself doing this with the very little interactions that I've had. In the rare case that I actually talk to people, I find myself saying sorry at least once in the conversation, and oftentimes I'm apologizing for simply existing. I'm sorry for a lot of things, especially existing and wasting people's time. This is not a healthy habit by any means, but unfortunately society has shaped some people to be this way. Elliot also overthinks every social interaction and hates himself after saying stuff he shouldn't have said. This is very relatable as someone who overthinks social interactions before, during, or after they happen. I'm always in my own head about whether an interaction went well or went horribly. I am also completely incapable of forgiving myself, and I also reflect on the cringe memories in the middle of the night. Elliot is definitely not a well-known character throughout the media by any means, but if more people knew about him, there would be a lot of people relating to his character. I'm going to have to put a trigger warning on this section of the video because it's not quite for people who are sensitive to these topics. So, trigger warning, serious topics ahead. The last one on my list is Yuri from Doki Literature Club. This character is well known across the internet, but to those unfamiliar, Yuri is one of the 4 main characters in the visual novel psychological horror game Doki Literature Club. The version of Yuri I relate to is most certainly Act 1 Yuri, because if you know anything about the main game, you'll know that after Act 1, things start to go off the rails. Yuri in Act 1 is characterized as the soft-spoken, mature, timid, and mysterious one of the group. She stands out because she's more grounded and level-headed than the other girls. Yuri to me is very captivating, and when I first found out about this game, I was drawn to her character because I related so much. I might not be an avid reader like she is, but I relate to her anxiousness and mystery. She's the type to use wide vocabulary and complex sentences to express herself when speaking, and I relate to her in that aspect. When I write scripts for videos, I find myself wanting to use language that suits my personality as a grounded, down-to-earth, timid person. Yuri is also the quiet one, which gives her this aura of mystery that surrounds her. You can't help but want to know more about her because she says so little. I've been told before in the past as a quiet kid that I'm mysterious. I don't really know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something. Unfortunately, I also relate to this character in terms of her struggles. Later in the game, Yuri is revealed to have been actively self-harming by cutting herself, which is something I know all too well. I used to struggle with self-harm, and it made me feel seen to find someone in fiction with the same issue. I also like that the game is really subtle about it as well. I know this isn't really fun to talk about, but it's another core reason why I relate to this character so much. I apologize for taking a serious turn in this video. And that's about it for this video. Thank you for watching. And these were the 3 relatable characters I chose to talk about for my video. I hope you enjoyed. Who are some of the characters that you relate to? Let me know in the comments, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. Hello, this is post-editing Alyssa with, I guess, where I talk unedited, unfiltered at the end of every video, where I talk about the process of making it. So, I typed the script for this video several weeks ago. I just didn't have the motivation to edit it because of things going on in my life. But I do want to apologize for my lack of visuals. But all I really had to show for this video was just my hand drawing, and I don't have the resources to do it from an upwards view where you can actually see where what I'm drawing. So you're just gonna have to bear with me until I figure something out. But I do hope you enjoyed my relatable characters. Those were characters that I related to the most. And I might do a part 2 of this in the future if this gets enough traction. I know I could definitely come up with some more relatable characters. But comment down below who your relatable characters are, as I would like to know what some of your relatable characters are. Anyways, I'm pretty sure you've heard me talking for long enough, and I'm gonna end it right here. Goodbye.